Hello, Sarah here with Tenderfoot Village, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make a baby gnome. Also, I want to let you know that for this tutorial I'll be doing a photo tutorial instead of a video tutorial, so it should have as much information. It will only be presented in still images instead of live video. To begin, I'm going to take my styrofoam ball and my tiny dowel or toothpick, and I'm going to poke a hole in the ball. I only want to insert the toothpick or dowel in about halfway into the styrofoam ball. Once I've finished making my hole, I'm going to take the dowel back out and I'm going to add a little bit of glue into that hole that I created. Once I've finished adding the glue, I'm going to reinsert that dowel back into the hole, and then I'm going to set it aside and let it set up and dry. While that's drying, I'm going to grab my pattern and cut out my oval shape in my fleece material. This is going to be the skin color for the head. After I've cut my piece of fleece material, I'm going to lay it over the styrofoam ball and make sure that I like the placement. Once I decide that I like the placement, I'm going to begin gluing it down. I feel that it's important to note that I like to glue down the top and bottom section first and then work my way around the rest of the head. Next, we're going to grab our material that we're going to be using for our sleep sack. For me, I'll be using this green fleece material, and you're going to want to either use my pattern or you can cut out a rectangular piece of the fleece material. You want two pieces, and I'm pinning them together because for this I'm going to sew them, but you can glue the edges if you'd like. My suggestion would be that everywhere that you see I sew, you could alternate with the hot glue gun. Now that I've sewn a line on either side lengthwise, I'm going to trim the excess material. Also, please note that if you are purchasing the pattern, you will get two versions of the sleep sack. One straight up and down, and the other one will be kind of at an angle. Once I've trimmed the excess, I'm going to fold down both ends towards the middle of the fabric. I'm doing this to create a pocket in order to run like a drawstring through. Once I have my two ends folded over, I'm going to begin hot gluing around the edge of both ends. Once I finish hot gluing, I'm going to take my scissors and snip two little slots in both ends. Next, I'm going to grab my embroidery floss and I'm going to tie it around this little tiny dowel, and I'm going to run it through both sides, meaning that once I finish going through the top part, I will snip the excess embroidery floss and then I will tie it off and start again. This will allow me to create two separate drawstrings. Once I've finished running the string through both the top and then the bottom, I'm going to flip the material back right side out. Now we're going to set the sleep sack aside and start on putting the head and the body together. So for this, I'm going to grab the head piece that I just finished making and the paper mache egg, and I'm going to use my hot glue gun and poke a hole into the top, the pointed part of the egg. So if you have trouble with this, you could just grab your scissors and kind of poke a hole in there. Just know that some of the eggs are easier than others to poke a hole into. Once I have the hole in my egg, I will add a little bit of hot glue and put my two pieces together. Next, I'm going to grab my sleep sack and I'm going to slip the baby's body into it. I'm going to cinch up the bottom drawstring, and then once I get the baby into the sack where I like him, I'm going to pull tight but not tie it off quite yet. At this point, I'm going to grab my third piece of material, which I'm using a gray fleece for this. I'm going to use my pattern and cut out the triangular shape, but you could just cut out a triangular shape that you believe is the size, close to the size of the head. Once I have my triangle piece cut out for the hat, I'm going to fold up the bottoms and pin them so that I can sew them. And I'm going to sew across the bottom and down the sides. But as an alternative, you can hot glue these. Once I've completed this step, I'm going to turn the hat right side out and put it on the baby. This is also the point in which I pull the drawstrings tight, tie them in a knot, and then snip them. After I've completed that step, it's time for me to move on to inserting the eyes. To do this, I'm going to take 2 push pins. I like to use the darkest color I can find, black or dark blue. And then I'm going to snip off the sharp end with a pair of wire cutters. And then once I do that, I'm going to apply a little dot of hot glue to that sharp piece in order to make it so that I can throw it away in the trash easily. So now that I have the sharp parts of the needle removed and safely thrown away, I can begin inserting the push pins where I would like them to be for the eyes. I think the eyes make all the difference, and they really start to look cute once they get to this point. Also, I would like to say that at this point you could stop. These next steps are completely optional. Now we are going to move on to the nose, and for this you'll need a tiny pom-pom and a piece of our skin-colored fleece material. To create the nose, you're going to take the pom-pom and stick it in the center of your fleece material, and you're going to begin pulling the edges up towards the middle, and then you're going to take an elastic hair tie or a small elastic and tie it around that pom-pom. You want to allow yourself to have enough excess of that fleece material when you trim it in order to be able to have a grip to stick on the head. So once my nose is cut, I'm going to lay it on the head flat, and then I'm going to add a little dot of hot glue to the back of it and stick it to the head. Then I'm going to pull the hat down over it, and then I'm going to apply another dot of hot glue to the top of the nose, close to where the excess is, in order to hide that elastic. At this point, I like to add a little bit of blush to the nose and cheeks. To make the pacifier, I'm going to use 3 pieces of Sculpey clay, 2 white and 1 green for this particular baby gnome. My largest will be a bean shape, about the size of a pinky fingernail, maybe a little bit larger. The middle size will be an oval, and the smallest size will be a circle. I'm going to stack all 3 of these on top of each other, and then I'm going to put them in my toaster oven and bake them at 275 for 15 minutes. Once the pacifier is done and cooled, I will apply a dot of hot glue to the back and stick it just under the nose so that it creates the look of a pacifier. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. Also, you can comment below on what you thought of this version of my tutorial. I would love to know your feedback.